Alright, so when we're talking about the declaration of variables, we've got two kind of key things here. We've got variables that can change, and then we've got variables that don't change, which are called constants, and we use capitalization, and we also do an assignment for those. So with overtime, it's a constant and a fixed amount. So you'll see here that overtime has been set for 40 hours, but it could have been set for 37 and a half. Depends on the company's rules. Now, if you've got this program and it's going to go into two separate companies, this program would have to be written very differently. This could not be used as a constant. Only constants are used when it's actually absolute and it never changes. So something like if you wanted to do things like the holidays are always Saturday, Sunday for your company, or there's always 12 months in a year or 7 days in a week. Those are pretty established constants. Now, overtime rate, again, would be another question. Is your overtime rate for your company 1.5%? 1.5 times your salary. Now, some companies might not be. And again, if it varied from company to company, this could not be used as a constant. But for the example in here, that's what we're going to use. All right, so that's quite a bit going on in the declaration now when it comes to variables and constants. So what I want to do now is take a look at the assignment statement. And the assignment statement is pretty standard. We're just taking our user inputs and we're assigning it, parsing it to our hours. And our pay, same idea. We take our user input, parse it to the decimal, and assign it to pay. Now, when it comes down to the question, we're asking ourselves, is the number of hours greater than 40? So I've used the word 40 here, but really I should have probably used overtime because that's the constant that I can use. So I could actually say, is the number of hours the user put in greater than overtime? Is it greater than 40? If it is, that means we have to do a calculation based on overtime. If it fails that, it's just simply a standard multiply the pay by the hours and get the wage. And then we output the wage. Now this line right here is, we've seen this line before of code. Whenever you're outputting, and really that's what this line is. This line here is a calculate, and this line right here is an output line. All right, so this line right here is basically saying let's take the wage that whatever was calculated, but we can't, it's currently in a decimal format. We have to convert it back to a string currency and probably set it up for 2 decimal places. So that's currency output with 2 decimal places and put it back in this output control right there. All right, now if it fails, or if it's true, if the number of hours is, let's say, 41 or more, then we have to run this calculation. Now this calculation is a little more complicated because we have to calculate how many hours did they work minus their overtime. So it's basically, if it was 41 minus 40, there would be 1 hour of overtime. And then the formula looks a little different. The wage is calculated by taking the 40 multiplied by the wage, which is just your regular pay, plus how much the overtime, that 1 hour multiplied by the pay, multiplied by the overtime rate. So you'd want to sit down and work that formula out on a paper and get the logic. And again, you'd have to follow the rules of math here to make sure that that calculation is correct. So you'll see these as we progress through the course, and you'll have to come up with formulas and financial calculations to work that out. So that would give you the wage. Now the output is virtually the same as in either case. So I would probably do, again, currency with 2 decimal places and then output it into the output box. All right, now if there was an error of any sort of information from the user, that would occur really at this stage right here. If the user didn't put in the correct data, the computer automatically catches an error. It would say this is an invalid wage or rate entry, and the entry title with the button. So this formulates the error message. But I've also done something else here. I've cleared out the old text boxes because there's an error. And I've done this one right here. This is a new one called set the focus back to where you want the user to start entering the data. This is a really nice little feature. All right, so what we'll do in the next video is we'll go through and we'll look at how this code actually translates with the logic.